I've always been smart with money.
Ah, nice. If your salary was 70K today, how would you manage it?
There's no magic you can do with 70,000 naira in this economy.
You don't need money for everything. There are many things you need money for, but you don't have to pay for everything.
You don't owe me money and do Dorime. It's not possible.
Ah, nice. Nice. Today on The Common Room, we are talking about money. Money matters. Why are we discussing money matters? Because money matters. And to discuss that today on the show with me, The Common Room, I have three beautiful people in the studio. From my close left here, I have Oyinda Akinyemi. She is the Executive Director of Stanbic IBTC Capital Limited, and she is also the head of equity capital markets for the whole of Africa. Oyinda Akinyemi, thank you very much for joining us on The Common Room. All right, I also have next to her, that's Oluwaseun Agbebi. He is an ESG professional, and he is also the manager of Baban Gona. He's a sustainability professional. We're glad to have you on The Common Room today. All right, and I have to my far left a very good friend of mine, Olushina Oga. He is the Deputy Managing Director of Liajat Nigeria Limited. They're a medical diagnostic product supply company. Mr. Olushina Oga, thank you for joining us. I can tell you for free, close to about 20 years ago, when I started working and earning an income, what will happen is that I will just go to the bank once my salary was paid. I will withdraw the entire money and then take it home and put it in one of my jackets, all right? And then start spending from it. Now, what happens is that I will remember everything that excites me. There is this eatery at the junction, at Allen Junction. What I tell myself, what's in Meko, let me go and satisfy myself. So in the first week of me earning money, getting my salary, I will go to that eatery about 3 times. And from then on, I begin to spend. Now, it doesn't take me about 10 to 12 days before I begin to trust God for money. I know a lot of people can identify with that. All right, but that's no longer the case now, truly. All right, so let me begin with you, Shinoga.
I think I gave a lot, so I didn't really think, okay, how much did I have? I didn't really plan. So maybe my early mistakes were those days when I was in school and somebody would come and ask, and I would just give and give and give and give, and you know. But over the years, I developed a savings culture. You know, especially when I was going to get married. Okay, so we had to plan for the wedding, we had to put things together, and I think that just metamorphosed after we got married and everything. So some of the things we did is, I used to work with a bank before I joined the family business. And what we did then was, you know, we tried not to fool ourselves. So if my wife and I earned, we take out, well, in our savings, within our savings, we also had the rent savings. So we don't assume that everything we got, because that was what we were doing initially. So everything we got, we say, okay, we are saving. Then when rent comes and we pay rent, it's as if we don't have anything again. Or when school fees comes, it's as if we don't have anything again. So of course, rent was annually. So from every month, we take out what was due for rent, we take out what was due for school fees, even those.
All right, that's great. That's great. Allow me to butt in there. So we moved. You moved into financial plan early. Yeah. Now the truth is, not so many people have even really crossed that, and we're going to come to financial planning very soon. Pastor Inda, I can't but call you Pastor Inda. So here's the thing. you've always been smart, and you are still smart. I mean, you. I mean, you finished with first class honors and also cleared ICANN. Some people are still struggling with ICANN 20 years on, you know. But is that always been the practice with money? Have you always been smart with money? Have you made money mistakes?
I've always been smart with money.
Ah, nice one, nice one.
Okay, now, I read accounting, and I guess to a large extent, that sort of contributed to my ability to be disciplined. And I mean, I was fortunate enough to have been exposed to how to handle money to an extent, you know,
yeah,
when
but,
I was
but you
young.
know, it's not all accountants that are smart with money. There are a lot of broke accountants.
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah, that's why I mentioned, yeah, it was,
Good.
I was fortunate enough that, you know, early on, you know, my dad exposed me to a number of things, you know, that helped me to be able to manage, you know, money to a large extent. I mean, one thing that I always tell people, you know, there's some things that are just foundational, you know. No matter where you are, what level of money, what is your money doing? Where is your money going? Some people don't even have an idea of, you know, what their current financial level is. You know, and I believe that those are one of the foundational things that, you know, one has to have in place if you are going to grow where your income is concerned. Now, because I'm an investment banker, you know, I've definitely made mistakes where investments are concerned. And, you know, I guess there is an element of risk-taking if you are going to make investments. And if you are going to multiply money, you know, you have to learn how to make investments. I've made some shoddy investments, you know,
Tell us
to
about
confess,
it.
you know, many people knew about, you know, the time when there were all this, you know, agri, you know, investments and all. I put money there, and I knew that, but I guess, you know, the difference with me was that, you know, I didn't put in money that I knew that, I mean, if I lose that money, my whole life is gone. If you're going to make those kind of risky investments, you must be ready that, you know, because it's risky, if I lose that money, you know, it's not the end of the world. It's not the money that, you know, I'm saving for my children's school fees and stuff like that. So I did earn some return, but eventually, you know, many of these things went belly under. And thankfully also, you know, even where I work, you know, we have packaged some transactions that have been extremely disastrous, if I should say. There's one particular, you know, company that, you know, went to the market. You know, many people sold everything that they have to make that investment. But somehow I wasn't moved to make that investment, even though we were the ones acting on it. Eventually, you know, the company went, you know, belly up for one reason or the other, and, you know, I was thankful that I was able to stay away from, you know, from that.
All right, great. So let me ask you, you're already smart with money, but I know that you know a lot of people who on a regular make nasty mistakes with money. Now, when money comes to your hand, say you get an alert, because there are some of us in my past, once I get an alert, I get excited, like I'm the richest man in the world. But before you know it, you realize, I've not sent money to my mom. Sometimes I've not paid tithes. Then we were in the choir. I've not bought choir uniform, you know, because I've not paid for it, because I didn't plan for it. Now, so in your case, once you get an alert, do you have a program, like a culture? This is what happens to the money.
Okay, thank you. So the answer is yes, but how will I put it? When money hits, I'm also excited into my C alert. I think I prefer credit alert than debit, right?
Good.
And I can keep a mail for a credit alert for like 24 hours before deleting it. But for debit, I delete it instantly. So we all get excited.
Good.
But the thing I've learned over the year, and I've planned, is for every 1 naira that comes in, there's a percentage allocated for everything.
Say it again, please.
There is a percentage allocated for every 1 naira. It looks too strict. Sometimes we go off the course and come back, but for every, so if you give me, let me stretch it, $20,000, I can tell you tithe is 10, family savings is X amount, X percentage. So I use percentage.
Yeah. What percent would you?
So ideally, there's usually between 10 to 30, depending on what needs to be done.
Okay.
There are some that goes to projects, especially money that you don't plan for. I think that's where most people get it wrongly. We all pray for miracles, we pray for favor, and then the alert hits our account. But that's when we remember what we need to spend. You need to buy your choir uniform. I don't buy uniforms anyway. So, but in such unplanned money, I think you even have more opportunity to save better and allocate better. And if it is now the salary, the almighty income, either from a business or from your salary or from some form of dividend or payout, you then need to have a proper allocation. Family is there, emergency, savings, basic things that you need to do. You talk of running of the home, talking of feeding yourself so that you don't take care of every other person and then you get hungry.
Yeah.
As Christians, we give. So we call our free will offering, we talk about our tithe. So, but that major point is to be disciplined. You need to have that structure before the money comes. Because if the money comes, you get excited, and then you lose focus or you lose track of it. And then you don't start counting the money. And I think that's something, I'm sorry to chip that, and I think that's something I had to shift my mind years back. To stop waiting for payday. Stop waiting for the 26th or the 30th. So that the day, fine, we don't pray for it, but so that the day the alert does not come in. I've had cases of bankers who has checks that bounces because maybe there's a payment error and payment did not come in 26. And we also have people who are not even bankers, who work typically, but they'll sign checks that they know if this thing doesn't drop this 12 midnight. Maybe Pastor Bola will come after us, right? So things like that is to shift the mind from it, and you need to plan before you even get the alert.
All right, great. Let me come to you. There are some people who, where they are now, their salaries or income are always dead on arrival because no matter how they budget, there's still deficit in terms of, okay, Pastor Inda said we should budget. You look at the list, still so many things that need to be done, and that's where they are. If your salary income was 70K today, knowing what you do, how would you manage it? What would you do?
Okay, so first of all, I will say that you will not always be there. It's just a phase. My wife and I had been in that phase, before. And you just know it's not. So the thing about planning is that you know it's not enough. It's a different thing when you haven't planned, so the money comes, you just get excited, you spend, and at the end of the day, you're trusting. But when you know it's not enough, then it becomes a fake project, But what I would say to anybody that is there, it's just a phase. You are not always going to be there. I can imagine, okay, you just got out of school, it's just your first job, it's just your first gig. For me, I would tell people that school still occurs after you have even graduated. It's just that you are getting something, but really you should be paying for the experience. Do you understand? But if you focus on your trade, learn it to the point that you own it, you will be better off at the end of the day. So there's no magic you can do with 70,000 naira in this economy. You can, there's how far you can stretch it. You can reach out to, of course, maybe some of us are family members that can help or things like that. But the most important thing is that you in the things that you are doing, focus on learning, because it's learning that will help you earn better.
Clearly, those who don't make enough money have a learning gap. That's what you're saying. But you also realize that a lot of people still don't understand how to spot a money-making opportunity. Not that you are desperate to make money and all of that. Every entrepreneur who makes money is someone who has identified a gap and he has decided to take care of that gap. Now, how does someone begin to shift their mind to begin to spot opportunities to make money? I would ask you first.
If I can just layer on the earlier question about someone, because I think it's extremely relevant today. I think one sort of mindset that people need to have is you don't need money for everything. There are many things you need money for, but you don't have to pay for everything. What are your immediate priorities? What are the things that if you don't do today, you know that heaven is going to come down? Identify those things. For instance, if you have to, the Bible talks about someone that was being owed, and then he went round the creditors, can I negotiate this, to this amount and stuff like that. You have to leverage on, someone say your network is your net worth. Leverage on the resources that you have. If you have school fees for your children that are coming up, can you engage the school and ask for, some form of concession so that you spread the payments? Can you join your cooperative so that you are putting in a little amount every month so that by the time the school fees, becomes due, you can eventually have something to pay? Now, this is something, sorry, I'm digressing a bit,
No, it's not a digression.
Yeah, and this is something that I'm in this season, I am learning personally a lot about money mindset. I saw something, I got in contact, I read something about a guy, this gentleman, he talks about the fact that, for a long time, he was raised in a foster home where they had lack and all that. The first time he finally was able to sort of get on a domestic flight, and so that there was first class and all that, and he discovered the amount, and he was asking, how on earth can people afford to pay this amount for first class? And then he just started to think, open his mind, and then he realized that, many people don't have to cough out that amount of money to pay that kind of tickets. That there are opportunities you can open yourself to. If you get a credit card from this organization, they will give you 60,000 points, which will automatically pay for your first class ticket. And he began to explore those sort of opportunities. He likes to stay in good hotels, and he discovers that if he goes to Airbnb, the amount is beyond his reach. And so what does he do? He sits down, he writes an email to the owner of the Airbnb and asks, I like your apartment, it's $600, I can't afford it now. Can I pay $400? And he said he started to monitor the timetable, the calendar of availability, such that, by the time the previous person is leaving the Airbnb and it hasn't been taken, the owner is kind of desperate because you want it filled. And so rather than just, if you don't rather than have zero rent, I'm able to take 200 naira instead of 600 naira. And so those are some of the ways that you can make the money that you have today, you can get full bang for your buck. So the answer every time is not always getting more money, but what I have, how can I spread it more? And it comes with a mindset. So the answer every time is not always money, but what can I open my mind to? What opportunities can I open my mind to ensure that, I have more than naturally I would be entitled to?
Thank you for that. Let's talk about debt management. Yes, you're earning income, but again, probably because of, or certainly, in some cases, because you have not managed your finances well, you are in debt. If you find yourself in a very bad financial situation today, say maybe money you planned for your children's school fees, you have actually saved, right? And then an opportunity comes that seemed legit, and all of a sudden it goes bonkers. How would you crawl out of that situation?
I think there are some funds we don't take risk with. Let's first start with that. There are some things we don't. So you don't gamble with, permit me to use the word gamble. You don't gamble with your house rent. You don't gamble with your wife's delivery. Your HMO is not going to cover CS. And then you say, oh, there is one agric, sorry ma. There is one agric investment. You don't gamble with such. I think investment that could possibly lead to debt should be done with free cash or money that it's free or at your disposal. But now the debt is here already. The mindset also comes into play. You shouldn't be a debtor and on Instagram, on Facebook, you are the one vibing the most. You are the one, even if I know...
It's called discretion, right?
Discretion, yes. To put it in layman's term, you don't owe me money and do dorime. It's not possible. You don't. So managing the expectation of your creditor or the person you are owing is also one thing. And I think most people also think that the best way to manage a debt is to avoid it. It won't go away. So face it head on. If it's a debt to an institution, then you then need to approach, work out something, a payment plan, or get more time. If it is to an individual, I think that's the one that is most difficult to get back. So if it's to an individual, you need the person to understand why you are delayed on the payment. And that keeps your record for borrowing some other time, right? Then the last thing I would say on debt management is gradually the same way the debt came in can be gradually resolved. So it's a one kobo year, 2 kobo year, and then you gradually work towards it. There are debts that we need to run some phase of our life. I'd had business endeavors that I think I needed debt. I think there was a time I needed a fund and I needed to meet up a target, and I was looking for where to borrow. If I was pushed to the point where I needed to get a 40% interest, and what took me back was, the guy said, "Oh, your collateral is your car." I said, "Hey, car? No. Where will you park the car? I want to park it somewhere in Marina." And I said, "No," but I found that there were other ways to even get that money beyond getting that facility. Goodwill, friends, family. Network is your net worth, like Pastor Onyeda said earlier. And all these, you gradually, that is quite difficult, especially if you're like someone who, when you owe somebody money, including if you owe somebody money in your house, you hardly sleep. And especially when they ask you, you are owing me so amount of money. So what I'm saying is, it's a gradual process. You need to be committed to it, have the mindset to pay. We are Christians, but I think it is also an unfair prayer. God does miracles, but it's an unfair prayer as Christians to always pray for debt cancellation. I think you are praying that somebody else loses his own revenue or income because they did you a goodwill. I don't think it's a fair prayer. God will answer. God might answer, but before you get to the point where you are praying for that debt cancellation, please do the one that you need to do on your own part.
Nice. And you know, I particularly love this conversation about debt management. Now, there's a lot to do when it comes to money. I believe that there's a lot to do with emotional intelligence. Some people will owe you money and they stop coming to church. They ghost you. Because of you, they'll go to MTN and swap their numbers. Some people they'll grandstand you. Some people will make you feel guilty for asking. And it circles back to what you said about, look, Egmont, face your debt. You know. Now, I want you to talk about the importance of emotional intelligence when it comes to managing your deficit, because you still need money some other time, and that you should stop running.
The saying goes, nobody knows tomorrow. Have a mindset of paying your debt.
Have a
mindset of paying your debt. Owe no man nothing except love.
It's in the Bible, right?
Yeah. So it's just very, very important. Okay, maybe I've been privileged not to borrow so much in my life, but I've also borrowed people money a lot. And right now, I can't even, I still borrow people money, but it's those people that have proven themselves over time. So I don't mind. I'm kind of a risk taker. Do you understand? I know where I am financially, so I have friends that, you know, I borrow them money, good money, and you know, I trust that they will pay them back. Okay, there's a risk that they won't pay, but you know, they are credible people. They will always, you know, and if something happens, they will tell me. But a lot of people have spot that bridge. And they do it, they think that, okay, it's just them, but it affects the borrower in the sense that the lender, in the sense that you now don't want to extend those grace to other people. So when you don't pay back, you are not just fined, your reputation is damaged with that person, but you also, you are blocking the way for other people who genuinely, need this help and who genuinely will pay back. It's just very important.
You're building a destructive culture.
I just want to say this, but this is very personal to me. In my business, sometimes, of course, some monies are delayed and everything. But I noticed something, that when I pay my creditors, those that owe me pay me. It's a way by which you yourself can grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate you for that. There's so many things that I wish we could talk about Money Matters, but the time is up. I really, really appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming on the program today, The Common Room. Thank you so much. Oyinda Akinyemi, Oluwaseun Agbebi, and Olushina Oga. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about money. And that will be all on the program today, The Common Room, brought to you proudly by Kingswood Ikeja. I'm Kaide Alanade. Bye now.